Alright, Assalamualaikum very good morning to everybody. So this week we will be continuing our lecture on REM212. So for this week we will be continuing regarding topic 3 for this semester, which is we will look into the negotiation aspect of an estate agent with a principal. So, for the introduction, it is a process by which the involved parties or a group resolve matters of dispute by holding discussions and coming to an agreement which can be mutually agreed by them. So, in this case, you as a third party person, which you became an agent for the principal, meaning for the potential seller or even the potential buyer in terms of SMP leasing or even tenancy. So you must portray the professional ethics and also good ethics in you trying to be the best representation of the work or services that you are going to offer. Okay, and it also refers to coming to closing a business deal or bargaining on some product. So, some of the components that we need to look regarding the process of negotiation of a contract is that first of all, you must have, of course, a binding contract, whereby a binding contract means that this agreement is enforceable in a court of law, whereby if there is any dispute between the principal, between the potential buyer, or even the agent yourself, you can bring this to a court of law, and then you can sue or even be sued. So the court of law can enforce the terms that is regarded inside the contracts. Okay, and afterwards we are going to look at the etiquette for successful negotiation, the counter offer. The counter offer, like if you are offering 500,000 ringgit, then you receive a counter offer of 450,000 ringgit. So how you are going to deal with the counter offer that is being received, and how you are going to convince the potential buyers or even the potential sellers that the asking price given is a fair asking price. Okay, and lastly is the problems. We will look into problems before closing down the transaction. So number one is the etiquette for successful negotiation. So it refers to the do's and don'ts to negotiate successfully with the seller, whereby item number one, the vendor or even the principal must leave all negotiation to the agent. So in this case, the agents need to negotiate, then it will be undermined if the vendor gives any indication that an offer might be. So for this particular point, it states that if a principal or even a vendor interrupts with the negotiation or discussion process, let's say the potential buyer is negotiating directly with the principal. So there's no point of you becoming an estate agent. No, there's no point of you becoming the middleman if both the principal and also the potential buyer is negotiating directly between them. So you might be left out of the information circle, and there might be some procedures or even discussions that you are not able to contribute your expertise to. Okay, so number two is, of course, is very important, is the agent's loyalty is towards the vendor. So if the principal is the one who appoints you as an exclusive agent or even a sole agent, so you are not obliged to have any other loyalty towards other people. Your own principle is the one that you must be certain of. So in this case, you cannot have more than one principle. So if let's say the seller has appointed you as an estate agent, then the potential buyer also wants to appoint you, then you must state clearly that the potential seller has already appointed you as an agent. So you must show professionalism in this. Either you can be reprimanded by the board of valuers. Okay. Number three is the never submit an offer towards the to the vendor in front of the purchaser. Okay, let's say the purchaser already given 450,000 ringgit offer, but the principal already asked 500,000 ringgit. So this might not be professional if it is being done in front, meaning is directly, you can see directly between the reactions, and then the seller shows some reaction of dissatisfaction with the offer being made. So this might affect the negotiation process, whereby it's not really conducive. So any offer that is being made, you have to put it in writing, and in a private negotiation with the principal. So the principal is not directly showing his or her expression towards the potential purchaser. Okay, so next, if the offer may not be acceptable to the vendor, try to discuss it in person, not over the telephone. So because by over telephone is just it's not really conducive. But if you want to use the telephone because of the condition like MCO, so try to use the softwares, the video meeting softwares. So uh, at least you can see the reaction of the vendor. You can give better elaborations, and then you can discuss it face to face, just not physically, because of our current condition right now. Okay. Next item is that you need to prepare a list of points before submitting an offer. Never begin a negotiation if the discussion is likely to be interrupted. So you need to find a good place, that you are not busy doing anything else, not at home, not in the swimming pool area, whereby you are bathing or whatsoever. You must find a good meeting room, or even a good meeting place, like in a hotel, or even at least in a nice and quiet restaurant. So this kind of things is something that is common sense. As Of course, if we wanted to discuss anything, we want to have the best place, so that all of the points, all of the issues can be brought up and resolved in a professional way. So other etiquettes is negotiation should be done in person, not over the telephone, even though telephone saves time and produce quick response. If if the information is changed too quickly, and sometimes there is a misinformation, so you must be very clear. If you wanted to use the telephone, you must ensure that all of the participants, all of the vendor or even the potential buyer, they have gotten the correct information, so there is no issue afterwards. And it's also much better if you conduct the meeting, and afterwards you send them the soft copies in writing, so they can make the reference on the information that was previously given. Okay. And agent should try to predict vendor's reaction by assessing his or her own reaction to such an offer. So let's say, if like in the previous case study, whereby the asking price is 500,000 ringgit, and then the potential buyer counter offer with 450,000 ringgit, then you should be able to estimate if the vendor is going to be happy with the offer or not. So if you or yourself is not happy with the offer, you consider it to be too low, then of course it is going to be the same with the principal, because the principal is the one who will make most of the money from this. For our part, is just going to be the transaction fee, 3%. Okay, so there is no such thing as final offer. It is usually negotiable. In this case, in my suggestion, usually the asking price, that's why they always put the asking price is a little bit higher than the market value. So let's say the market value is around 500,000 ringgit, then the asking price they put 520 or 530. So because we wanted to give some negotiation room. Of course, it's not something that you purchase from the supermarket, whereby the price is already fixed. This is still can be subjected to negotiation, just to make sure that every side is happy. So potential buyer is offering well below than 530,000 ringgit, 480,000, and then the vendor said that it's 530, and then they try to meet at the middle point. So of course when they negotiate, and then the middle point will be around 500,000 ringgit, then this can be reflected as a true market value for the property. Okay, so when analyzing an offer, the agent should consider deadlines from both parties' point of view. Deadline meaning that if the vendor trying to sell for a reason, because the vendor want to dispose the property quickly because he or she wanted to purchase another property in another area. For deadline for potential buyer is that they must complete their financing in a good matter of time with the banks, or else the potential buyer will be penalized. They will be incurred penalties because they didn't wrap up their financing loans in a timely manner. So you as an estate agent, you must be well aware of this. The stipulations required by banks, because we also have different banks. We have Maybank, CIMB, Bank National, Bank Simpanan National, OCBC, Public Bank. So different banks have different sets of terms and regulations. So you as an estate agent, you must try to get this kind of information. So you must be familiarized with all of the terms. Okay, so either party need more time or certain date, so you must be well aware of this. So if let's say the financing is going slow, the valuation is not being conducted as soon as possible because of MCO, so you must either get this information from the potential buyer, and then you bring it back towards your principal. And then are there essential repairs to be done? Is the property empty? So you must consider this. If the property is having any tenants, either is a calm tenant or even a hostile tenant. So sometimes tenants they are not fond of the house being sold, because they are still living there. So you must think about the interest of the tenant that is living in the property itself. So potential seller must also be considerate regarding this. Potential seller, they must inform their tenants properly that the house is or the property is going to be sold, so the ownership will be transferred, and of course afterwards you may have to conduct discussion with the potential new owner. Okay, outgoing costs or ongoing costs, can a better agreement be reached on the fixture and fittings? Fixture and fittings like things inside the property, like in a factory whereby they have cranes, they have lifts or elevators inside the property. So either the kind of agreement includes all of this fixture or fittings, or even the principal is going to rip off all of the fixture and fitting. So they will hand to the potential buyer an empty property without all of these items inside. So this kind of things must be discussed much earlier. Okay, is it a cash offer? Is it a cash offer, or has the vendor or property to sell? Okay, this must be all confirmed, of course. If the vendor doesn't have any property to sell, then what's the point of he or she wanted to appoint you to sell the property if there is no property to be sold. Okay. The agent must not encourage a purchaser to make a silly offer. The agent must not disclose the vendor's lowest price to the purchaser. It's the same like what we are trying to do before. 480,000 and 530,000 ringgit. So the principal or the vendor have a set of range of prices that they're trying to get. But you as the estate agent, you know the lowest price, but you cannot tell directly. The property is trying to be sold at 530, but the principal lowest price if you wanted to make an offer is 480. So you straight away make it 480,000 ringgit. Even though you can get the potential buyer quickly with this way, but it's not ethical, because you must always remember that you must preserve the interest of your principal. So in order for that, you must try to get the best offer for your principal. Okay. The agent should always be looking to improve upon the purchaser's offer. The agent should check the purchaser's position before submitting an offer. So if this potential purchaser have a good financial background, sometimes purchasers, they already have several properties and their credit rating is low. So you must try to do some assessment first, whether if the financing loan that is going to be submitted to the bank is substantial or not, whether the banks can approve the financing loan or not, based on the credit rating of these purchasers. So either you can buy the credit rating report from CITOS or CCRIS, or either you can interview them informally, just to know what is the financial position. Okay, so you must try to ensure that the potential buyer is someone who has the ability to purchase this particular property that you are going to sell. Okay, the agent must know the property and the market well in order to judge whether purchaser will seek to a later date. Meaning that you as an estate agent, of course, you must know the locality of the area. You must know the type of property that you are going to sell. If you are trying to sell an apartment in Ipoh, you must know other types of apartments there in Ipoh. The marketability factor of the apartment in Ipoh, whether people are willing to purchase apartments or landed properties in Ipoh. So you as a particular estate agent, you are the expert of the area. And then of course, when you are the expert of the area, you are someone who is knowledgeable regarding the local market. Okay. So next one is that the agent should continue to market the property continuously after the offer is accepted, in order to maintain some pressure on the purchaser. If you already receive an offer, even though the offer is quite good, but you must try to put some pressure. So there's some competition between the first potential buyer or the second potential buyer. So if the first potential buyer is offering 500,000 ringgit, and then the second purchaser offers 520, so you must try to disclose that there is another offer coming in, but the offer being made is higher. So you as a first potential buyer, you must also increase a little bit in order for the principal to consider you to purchase the property. So this is really a good way if the property is in a very good demand, and a lot of potential buyer is coming in. So of course you are going to select the highest offer with the highest and the best potential buyer that can purchase the property, meaning they can get all the financing loans without a problem and anything. Okay, so you must ensure all of this. Number two is that we are going to look at the counter offer being made. So a little bit on counter offer. Counter offer is an offer made in response to a previous offer by the other party during negotiations for a final contract. Making a counter offer automatically rejects the prior offer and requires an acceptance under the terms of the counter offer, or there is no contract. So the example given here, like Aziza, the seller, offered to sell her house for 150 to be paid in 60 days, whereby Mohsin, the potential buyer, receives the offer and gives the seller a counter offer of 140,000 ringgit, payable in 45 days. So the original offer of 150 is that. Despite the shorter time for payment, since the price is lower, so the asking price is 150, but the buyer said that the offer is received, but 140. So whereby the original offer is not legitimate anymore. If Mohsin states that it is 150,000 ringgit payable in 45 days, then this might not be a counter offer. It's just a direct acceptance of the offer being made. So, but in this case, so Mohsin already state that he agreed with the transaction, but 140. So this means sorry. So this means there is still no contract. So the seller can then choose to accept at 140 or counter offer again at some compromised price. So the seller might be counter offer the second time. So 140 is not enough. I want more than 140, so you must give me at least 145,000 ringgit. Okay, so that is for compromise price, or even reject the counter offer altogether. Reject. I don't want 140. My property should be sold at 150,000 ringgit. You either take it or leave it, or let it expire, of course. If you didn't make any decisions regarding the counter offer that you receive, of course, after a certain amount of time, the potential buyer is not going to be interested anymore, and then he or she can assume that you don't want to continue to make the contract. All right, how to handle counter offer? So if there is only one offer, the agent has little choice other than to receive to the vendor that the offer be accepted. So this is particular if your asking price is being met. If the only offer is 500,000 ringgit and then the asking price is also 500,000 ringgit, then of course you are going to accept that offer. But if the offer is 450,000 ringgit, whereby the asking price is for 500,000 ringgit, there's a 50,000 ringgit difference. So you must bring this to the principal first, whether he or she is going to agree with the lower price. You cannot say that, oh, 450,000 ringgit is okay, then you can proceed to purchase this property. You cannot make that decision. That one is up towards the principal's decision. Okay. So if there is several interested party at the asking price, it may be necessary to assess who is most likely to complete within a reasonable price. And to go back and explain the position and take higher offer or the final offer by a specified date. So this is what I've been telling you before. So if you have several offers being made, then you must assess them. You must assess the potential buyer's ability, and even if there is a higher offer being made afterwards. Okay. So if there are many offers, the agent should advise the vendor to wait and see if any other offers are made within a time frame. So you can ensure that the vendor will get the best offer for the property. So if you have, let's say, 20 offers, so of course you are going to choose to help the principal choose some of the best or highest offer that he or she can make a decision on. Okay, so if none are made, then the agent has to go back to the original offer. He or she have to submit a lower offer. So if the asking price is seen as being too high, even the potential buyer, they can check on the indicative market value of a property. So if the market value is just around 500,000 ringgit, but you are trying to get an asking price of 600,000 ringgit, even the potential buyers will not be interested, because they already know. So this kind of asking price is too high. Even if they make a financing loan, they have to top up a lot more money than they would have. So of course, the best situation for potential buyer is of course to get properties that are under market value, and the best situation for principal is that to sold the property at a much higher price than market value. So you as an estate agent, you must try to be the best negotiator for both of the principal and also for the potential buyer. So you must ensure that both of them are aligned regarding their perception of value, regarding their discussion between the prices. Okay, so you must ensure all of this. Okay. Lastly, for this week we are going to look at what constitute of a binding contract. Also, of course, we have the Contracts Act. So you needed to refer Contract Act before. So in an overview or a refresher regarding a contract is that a contract for sale and purchase of land is formed in the same manner as any other contract. So the basic element of a binding contract, it must be there must be two elements that is available, whereby there is an offer and also there is an acceptance. So both of this contract is enforceable by oral contract or either in writing. But for the purpose of this kind of high value agreement, of course, we must always have a writing contract, just to be safe, so it can be brought to a court of law if there is any dispute. Okay. So a contract indicates that the parties have a meeting of the minds. So meaning they indicate the first party and the second party, they already have an agreement, but they need to formalize it. Okay, so to ensure that the agreement is formalized and the contract is formalized, they either have a oral agreement or either a written agreement. Okay, so the contract binds the parties to specify actions in the future, whereby the seller needs to deliver the marketable legal title to the potential buyer, and for the buyer's responsibility is that he or she needed to pay the stipulated price for a property, and the agreement must also be supported by consideration. Okay, so this consideration, of course, is something that we value of, let's say of financial or even cash form. So financial or cash form is something, of course, that we value, money. So the exchange of money is being done for you as a potential buyer to receive the property. For you as the potential seller, is that you exchange your property to get a certain amount of money. So this is what we are trying to state regarding consideration. Okay, so you must ensure that even though you are just the third party person, you must make sure that a binding contract is established between both the potential seller and also the potential buyer. Okay, so for this case, if you didn't have the expertise, so much better if regarding the legal terms and everything is being made by an attorney, or a lawyer. So a lawyer is much more knowledgeable and they are more qualified regarding the legal terms. So this particular document can be can be sub to a lawyer to help you with the negotiation. So you don't necessarily have to conduct all of the documentation regarding the legal and regarding the legal aspect of the transaction. Okay. All right. So I think that's about it for this week. So for next week, we are going to continue on our lecture, and we will look a lot more into how a contract exists and the types of contracts that is available outside there for you as an estate agent to operate with the potential buyer and potential seller. Okay, so with that, I will end my lecture with wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.